We started tasting whiskey together, really before Prohibition. You were tasting whiskey with me.
COVID.
Or before COVID, really. It's, 10 o'clock in the morning still. But during COVID, I actually asked him to join me on my blog, and we started Mike and Matt Taste Whiskey on the blog. And we started making videos together. We put them up on YouTube, and we still do them. I think I was noticing we're up to 1,300 videos, something like that now. But once a week on Monday, we do Mike and Matt Taste, and that's what kind of inspired this event. And we were talking about what we wanted to taste here, and I think, was it you or was it Rosemary? Someone said something about Mike and Matt get toasted.
Yeah.
Do 3 different toasted whiskeys, and we did. The first product we have is the Peerless Toasted Bourbon. This is Mike and Matt Taste Whiskey. We're going to do this just like we do on our videos or what we do in the blogs. So the first thing we want to do is look at the Peerless, which is on the left. Look at it and you want to nose it, and you'll just, when I nose it, I always like to take it to my nose 3 times. The first time, you're getting mostly alcohol. Second time, your nose begin to get acclimated to it. Third time, you're actually getting the aromas. So what kind of aromas do you get?
Butterscotch.
Butterscotch.
I mean, that little citrus.
Little citrus. Anybody else? Anything else?
Powdered sugar.
Powdered sugar? Little oak, maybe? Yeah. And feel free to say what you want, because I'm a firm believer there is no wrong answer. The next thing we want to do is taste it. And what you want to do is take enough to let it go over your tongue and into your taste buds, and then swallow it. Doesn't have to be a huge sip, just a little, just enough to let it roll over your tongue. You want to swallow it because you want to get that finish, that aftertaste. So what kind of flavors are you getting on this? I definitely got the apricot, particularly on the finish. To me, the finish is oak and cinnamon, with maybe just a little bit of that lingering butterscotch.
Mm-hmm.
As I learned this from Awita Michael at Woodford Reserve back when she was the chef in residence at Woodford Reserve, and she did a flavor wheel where she talked about pairing different things with Woodford and how each bite of food changed the flavor. Well, what I've done is kind of cut her flavor wheel down to 3 simple things. A dried cranberry, because dried fruit concentrates the sugars. So we want concentrated sugars. A pecan, because a nut has tannins in it, and it enhances the tannins. And then chocolate, because it's got a little bit of both. It's got sugars, plus it's got the tannins. So we start with the dried cranberry. Just take a bite and chew it, and then take a sip. How did that change the flavor?
You get a lot more of the oak and the toasted flavors off of it for sure. Marshmallow.
Yeah.
Brought a lot of cinnamon. I mean, kind of took the fruit away for me.
Oh, for me, it was just the opposite. That definitely got a lot of that apricot
Oh, really?
on the initial taste. But like I said, everybody taste buds are different. So that's one reason why I asked Matt to join me on my blog, because I want different.
Yeah.
And let's face it, I'm 66 years old now. I'm getting older. My taste buds, I'm sure, are probably not what they were 20, 30 years ago. Matt's 30 years younger than me or so.
Yeah, we'll say that, yeah.
30-ish.
30, yeah.
Cleans your palate. Try to get that
Water in the bag.
lingering cranberry out of your mouth, and then let's try it with a pecan. Eat the pecan and take a sip. How did that change the flavor? For me, it brought out a real nice note of chocolate. And to me, this brought out chocolate, complemented it, but then it enhanced that finish, that oak and that cinnamon finish. Let's cleanse our palate again and take a small bite of chocolate and then see how that changes.
That enhanced the chocolate flavor in the whiskey for me.
Yeah. It kind of turned it to maybe 2 notes for me. It was like chocolatey and then oak finish. That's kind of.
Oh, not for me. I get the chocolate, I get the caramel,
Get some cherry too.
some cherry,
Yeah.
apricot. Still get a bit of cinnamon, but it's just a hint, and it's really mostly on the finish. That chocolate cinnamon oak finish is really nice in my opinion, with just maybe a little bit of lingering caramel.
How big of a difference do you show with milk chocolate versus the dark chocolate? Do you still
Well-
get the same flavor profile, or?
I'm not sure they took the milk chocolate ones, oh, they did?
The silver pack.
Oh. There you go. Take her.
Well, let's find out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I personally
Oh, you want me to throw it?
like the dark chocolate better when tasting the whiskey, but I know Rosemary loves milk chocolate.
What's do you have a sweet spot of like the percentage of cocoa in the dark chocolate that you like to be at with this sort of thing,
You know,
or is it not that big of a deal?
it is a big of a deal, and I've done chocolate and bourbon tastings with Kelly Ramsey from Art Eatables, which I believe did a program here, was it yesterday, or is she doing it today? Bourbon and chocolate.
Mike,
Yes.
do you have a favorite proof when you're tasting? Is there, if you were looking to optimize the tasting, what proof are you normally looking for?
Anywhere between 95 and 105, the very traditional proofs, William Howard Taft, when he wrote his Taft decision in 1907, says that drinkable proof is anywhere from 95 to 105, and then I have to agree with him. Once you start getting up above 115, 114, all you're doing is killing your taste buds. That first taste might be very good, but the second taste, you're not getting as much, and by the time you take a third taste, your taste buds, you're not really tasting anything. So I always, add ice cube or a shot, a little bit of water to anything, that gets up there in that high proof, anything above like 114.
Mike?
But I've always been a big fan of bottled and bond whiskey. I was talking bottled and bond and the benefits of it back in 1994 when I gave my first talk.
Well, what do you think you'll lose at the lower proofs?
Well, at lower proofs, you have to add more water, which is going to dilute the flavor. Plus, you have to filter it a lot more. I was once told that the difference between a 100 proof whiskey and a 90 proof whiskey is that you have to filter it like 20 times more dense than you do the 100 proof to keep it from doing the flocking, which is, when it gets cold and you get that cloudiness. And an 80 proof, it's like 100 times more dense of a filter that you have to use. So the more dense the filter, the more flavor you're taking out. That's that. And a toasted barrel simply, when you make a barrel, you add heat in order to bend the staves. And that starts the toasting process, which is adding heat to wood. It breaks down the lignin in the wood and starts bringing out vanilla and the sugars. And then when you char the barrel, you also get even some more toast. But the thing is, with charring the barrel, you're also burning away that initial toast. So, a lot of it. So what they will do often is do what they call a deep toast, where they heat it much longer than they needed to bend the staves and get a good toast layer before they char the barrel. Well, a toasted barrel, in many cases, not every case, but many cases, is simply they are doing that deep toast and then not charring the barrel. And that's where you get the toasted flavors, you know. And to me, the toasting brings out more of the butterscotch, caramel, those types of flavors. It's double barrel, basically. They made this peerless. They aged it for 4 years. Then they took a toasted barrel and dumped the regular whiskey and filled a toasted barrel with that whiskey. And then let it set for, they don't really talk about how long they do it, but it could be anywhere from, 3 days to a year and a half or whatever. The different companies are gonna do it for a different amount of time.
So for a toasted finish, I mean, are they batching a bunch of charred barrels into like a stainless steel vat, then siphoning it into different
Yes.
toasted barrels?
Right. Yeah.
So,
the-
so
the-
can there be a technically a single barrel product with that?
Yes. And the reason I say that is there has been a process of consolidating barrels. Goes back hundreds of years, where a distiller who needs room in his warehouse will take whiskey that was made on the same day, dump the barrels, say it's 6 years old and they've lost 15%, and then refill the same barrels and get rid of 15% of those barrels. So say they had 100 barrels, all of a sudden they only got 85. You can bottle that as a single barrel product.
Because it was made on the same day and barreled at the same time.
Well, and the fact is that your bottle, there is no legal definition of single barrel. So you're barreling it 1 barrel at a time. Single barrel. And there are some single barrel products out there that are so consistent in flavor, I think that's what they're doing. They're dumping all the barrels, refilling them, and then they'll take them out and dump, each barrel is a single barrel. But that leads to a more consistent flavor. So are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yes, you almost have to be at this point.
So this next one is Penelope. Penelope toasted bourbon. It's got a number 1 char, is what it says. Char 1, heavy toast, 100 proof. It actually has an age statement. It's 4-year-old whiskey. We actually tried this whiskey here not too long ago. Next Friday, when the blog comes out, it's going to be our whiskey of the month. What do you get on the nose? I'm getting a little apple. What do you get on the flavor?
Toasted marshmallow.
Toasted marshmallow.
S'more.
S'more. You know, little chocolate.
The chocolate, the graham cracker, the toasted marshmallow, the smoke from the fireplace, everything.
Yeah, like buttered toast too.
So let's try this with the dried cranberry. Definitely getting that apple for me now.
I can even taste that.
It's like an allspice.
That cinnamon spiciness I was getting earlier is now definitely more of an allspice, which to me is like allspice always reminds me of a cinnamon and nutmeg together type spice.
Pumpkin spice, almost.
Almost a pumpkin spice, but Penelope
Colorado.
was
Indiana.
developed by a couple of guys up in Brooklyn, I think it was, several years ago, and the name comes from one of the guys' wives. 2.5 years ago, they sold the brand to MGP, or sold partial interest at least, because they were getting most of their whiskey from MGP anyway. They didn't own the distillery, and so the MGP, which is also Lux Row and Yellowstone, Limestone Branch distilleries, they're all part of that group now. Let's try it with a pecan.
For me, it really rounded out any rough edges that really made it real approachable, easy.
To me, it brought out that caramel butterscotch.
It's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made it really sweet, yeah.
maybe a hint of chocolate. Still got that allspice spiciness, and particularly on the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever kind of tannins are in the pecans, it contrasted the whiskey really nicely.
Yeah.
Very good compliment.
That's almost better with pecan than it is neat, which is a rarity for me.
Yeah.
I really like it with pecan.
Which I meant to ask you, did you notice a big difference between the milk chocolate and the dark chocolate?
Yes.
I didn't have any whiskey to taste it with.
Oh, I thought I told him that, well, we'll
That's all
have
right,
to,
somebody else did.
you can try it with the Penelope.
Big difference in the mouth. So much.
Mm-hmm.
The chocolate itself overwhelmed the flavor
Yeah.
until the finish.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually done something similar to where we had like a tray of different meats and cheeses, and it's really interesting to see, you know, what a country ham, salted ham versus a salami, you know, or a aged Gouda versus a cheddar, you know, or a mozzarella, or a Parmesan. Yeah.
We agree it's better with the milk chocolate.
Yes.
Okay.
The dark chocolate just kind of overwhelms the flavor, and you don't really get much of the flavor on your palate versus the milk chocolate.
There you go.
The milk chocolate, you get a lot more of that graham, that buttered flavor from it.
Okay. There you go. So there is a big difference. You know, like I said, I knew there would be. But there is a big difference between even the different chocolates that you use, which is the Michter's Toasted Bourbon. Which, you know, this is a 91.4 proof whiskey without any age statement. Michter's doesn't really talk about their mash bill, but it's a traditional mash bill made with corn, rye, and malted barley. They use a decent amount of malt. They don't use enzymes to make their whiskey. It is a charred barrel, I believe. Matt, didn't you look this up and got more details on the charring, the toasting?
Well, I think it was an 18-month dried.
18 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then they put it in, and then they don't tell you how long it's been in there for, but
Right.
yeah.
So they're basically aging the barrel staves for 18 months before they put the barrel together. Then they're doing a deep toast.
Yes.
But one thing about Michter's is that quality is number one to them. They don't care about the cost. You know, as a matter of fact, Pam Heilman used to tell the story when she first took over as master distiller. They just started distilling at their new Shively plant, and you know, Joe Magliocco comes down from New York to get a report and everything, and she says, well, we did really well. We had this certain amount of yield, you know. And Joe's like, I don't care about that. What does the whiskey taste like? That's the important part. And she was kind of taken aback because she had come from Jim Beam where yield was everything. You know, when you're making, 5,000 barrels a day, yield is what they were going for at Jim Beam. But at Michter's, where they're making, what is it, like 10, 12 barrels a day, and Joe was more interested in quality. What does it taste like? And that's one reason why they have one of the lowest barrel entry proofs in the industry at 103. And they heat their warehouses, and it leads to a lot of the angel share. The heating does, because you're getting angel share even during the winter. But they feel that it makes for a better product. And that's one reason why they don't do age statements on most of their products, is because, Lincoln Henderson once told me that, a 4-year-old product in a heated warehouse tastes like a 6-year-old product in any normal warehouse. That they're adding, basically 1/3 more age to a product. I'm not sure that's really true because there's certain things that are involved in aging that is just time-based. You know, you have to have a certain amount of time for the oxygen to get in there and break down chemicals. But I'm sure they are getting a lot more flavor from the barrel in that earlier time.
Are
So,
they getting, I'm sorry, is it a consistent temperature they're keeping it at? Because I thought one of the advantages of aging in Kentucky was the range in temperature.
no, what they're doing what they call cycling. They will heat the warehouse until the whiskey reaches a certain temperature. Then they'll turn the heat off and let the temperature drop until it reaches a certain
So
temperature.
they're trying to mimic basically
The summer,
natural cycle.
right,
They're speed running it.
right,
I mean, it's still giving the consistency though, because they're doing it.
right. You know, and they're not the only one. You know, Brown Foreman heat cycles their warehouses. I believe Buffalo Trace even has a few warehouses that they heat cycle. You know, it's a common thing to do in Kentucky to heat cycle your warehouses, but it's a very expensive thing to do. You know, think of how much your gas bill is when you heat your house.
How big are these warehouses they're doing it to?
The Michter's warehouses, I'm not quite sure what the average is going to be because they age a lot of barrels there at the distillery. But they have built some warehouses which I believe hold like 10,000 barrels each, and they're heat cycling those. So anyway, let's nose this. And what do you get on the nose on this one?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Is it a vanilla ice cream? Is it like a real rich French vanilla?
French vanilla creamer.
French vanilla creamer.
Whole bean.
Whole bean. Vanilla whole bean, okay. What else do you get?
Orange peel.
Orange peel. A little citrus notes.
Mm-hmm. That spritz, that oil.
Yeah. Which rosemary, you know, always used to say you get a little bit of citrus in their Michter's, and you know, that Michter's always said they get a little bit of citrus, and Rosemary could never pick it up. And then we went to Michter's for her birthday one year, and Pam Heilman and Andrea Wilson set up a tasting of all their rye products. 'Cause Rosemary loves their rye. Well, she loves all their products, but particularly she loves the rye. And she had trouble picking it up on the first couple, but I think when you got to the 10-year-old, you really began to get the citrus.
You start telling yourself enough that I was citrus shamed, dear.
Oh, you just had a blind spot in
I
your
just nose blind to it.
nose blind to it. But anybody else get anything else? Okay, well, let's taste it. What kind of flavors are you getting on it?
Citrus.
Citrus.
It's like a little brown sugar.
Little brown sugar?
Yeah.
Sweet little sweetness.
Sweetness?
At this one chocolatier I would go to, they have these dark chocolate covered orange peels.
Okay,
That's the flavor I'm getting.
okay. Anybody else? Any spices? I get nice, particularly on the finish, I'm getting a nice little, like a white pepper, that kind of floral pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Get like a nutmeg.
Nutmeg?
Yeah.
Haven't had enough nutmeg.
I must be nose blind, or the citrus, it's more like fresh cookies.
Oh yeah.
So you're right out there with rosemary being,
I guess it's
yeah,
just
not picking up the citrus.
that's just muted of me, I guess.
Yeah. You try it with a pecan.
Mmm.
That's sweetened
It's
it.
really good.
Yes, indeed.
That's sweetened it. That's really nice.
That might be my favorite of the
Yes.
of the tasting right there.
That's really good.
Yeah, that.
Citrus and like almost like a Granny Smith apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knock your socks off good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do that again.
And to me, the caramel becomes more of a rich butterscotch, and I love butterscotch. So let's cleanse our palate. Try with the chocolate.
Oh man, that turned it into a soda, a cola, almost.
Cola.
I can see that. Anybody else got anything to
That's a
this?
good call. Yeah.
Not
That was
a
yeah.
Coca-Cola, like a check, like a Sam's Club.
Very specific.
I wasn't saying it was a good change. It was just definitely a cola. Though.
So what's everybody's favorite?
Yeah.
Michter's and pecan.
Maker's pecans?
Vanilla bean was nice too.
Yeah.
The misters seem to have a smoother finish to me than the other two.
Yeah.
But the nose on the Mixers is really good, really nice.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Well, these
what about
are-
you, Mike? What was your favorite today?
Well, let's take a poll. Who thought the Peerless was their favorite of the day? Who about the Penelope? Anybody think it thought it was the favorite? About the Michters?
I liked it the best.
Yeah, overwhelmingly.
Overwhelming, yeah.
Michters.
Yeah.
Julian Van Winkle swears up and down that the best food that you can eat with his products, you know, the 23-year-old, is an aged Gouda.
Really?
Not a smoked Gouda, but it's got to be an aged Gouda. He says that's the best thing, and he's really right. We tried it. It works.
I mean, smoked good is very overpowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell him to prove it to us.
An aged, a very good Parmesan Reggiano goes very good with a lot of whiskeys. Yeah. A lot of cheeses go well with it. Like that. Country ham. You know,
Is that one of the dark notes?
do a country ham and
No, this is
bourbon
a,
pairing. You'd be surprised at how different, you know, different hams, you know, different country hams, different flavors to them.
Oh, neat.
But you'll be
Yeah,
surprised at
that's a
how
good idea.
they affect the bourbon and vice versa.
So all the.
So, any other questions about
Good
anything?
idea.
Well, I've learned I need to, I
They're
think I
just
use
gonna toss it
unsalted
anyway
to
after
contradict.
this.
Like when I'm at home, I have
I
like
got
salted
more.
peanuts. I go with the salt
I'm
kind
gonna go
of
get those as well.
detracts, makes the whiskey bitter. Unsalted, I
Right,
think, is
yeah.
the way to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I think our time is officially over.
You just taught me.
Thanks for hanging out with us this
So,
morning.
thank you.
Taught me something.